You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got some family here.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
Come fly with me, up high with me. Eep, apple, orca means I love you. Do. Eep.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
I may look like a hardened criminal, but I'm innocent.
And Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Look at me like a human boy!
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warmer. Disco.
The Disco Dork. You, of all people, would know that I would never wear black silk underwear. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast.
Yay!
Darren, because you were talking about Double Impact on Facebook, yes. I also watched Double Impact this week.
Yes. That's my favorite Van Damme movie, I think.
Well, that's crazy, but it is a good one.
Could anybody tell where Brad's quote was from? Because this tickles me.
Where was your quote from, B?
The Martin Short, Charles Grodin classic, Clifford.
Oh, my God.
Oh, wow.
Because remember last week I called, oh, shit, what movie was I talking about? The David Oyelowo film.
Oh, yeah,
on
Gringo.
The last episode. Gringo.
Yes.
I was talking about Gringo and how Gringo looked like the mix between The Nice Guys and Pure Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently Pure Luck is not available for streaming easily.
No, it is. I watched both Pure Luck.
Yeah, because I think I did see your Letterboxd score on for Pure Luck today. Yeah.
Was it 5 stars?
No.
I can't remember. What was it? What did you give it? 3?
3 stars.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's no Den of Thieves, guys.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Brian is alive on Letterboxd. I looked today, and not only had he rated Den of Thieves, but he put a little sentence.
What?
He wrote a little review.
No, his account was hacked. That's prevalent nowadays. That's running.
No, I told you, man. 18 is a different year for me, man.
That was you. You did that?
Yeah, man.
What? Okay.
Yeah, I'm putting little blurbs up there, just for not everything, but just a couple stuff I see.
So besides, listeners, before we jump into anything, as you probably have heard before the It Mod theme song, you probably heard an advertisement. So we are ushering ourselves into that era to try to generate some revenue, some
dollar bill, y'all.
Measly income, for the podcast, so we can bring you great content and other fun stuff. So what's going to happen is, at the very least for our Weekend Dork episodes, we'll have a brief ad at the beginning. We'll have another one inserted in between the Weekend Dork and our review cast portion of this episode, and then one at the very end after our theme song ends at the episode. So just to be aware, so you're not caught off guard, which you probably already were, but too late. There's that. Now, Brian.
And this is a very special Skype cast because I have the plague.
Yeah.
Brad had the cold.
Brad caught cooties.
So we'll try to keep the coughing to a minimum by sucking down some Scotch lozenges.
Yeah.
Oh,
Brian, besides the Den of Thieves, how was your Weekend Dork?
Actually pretty good, because this weekend I've actually been watching a few movies. Kind of been stuck, I don't want to say stuck in the house, but yesterday was kind of like a movie day for me. Took my mother to go see The Post, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Took a while to kind of get going, but that second half really picks up and it's really, really good. And the performances are just awesome across the board in that film. And got home and just was watching a lot of movies. Of course, still doing my weekly MCU watch. I watched Thor today, and oh goodness, I watched. It's the 10th anniversary of Cloverfield, so I rewatched Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Still love those films, and for some reason, I just watched Magic Mike XXL, which is awesome.
Fun,
awesome
fun time.
Yeah, I had so much fun rewatching that movie. But actually, what I want to talk about is something that a lot of people have kind of been talking about on Twitter, which is the premiere of Black Lightning. This is the new CW DC. It's not in the Arrowverse, but it premiered this past Tuesday. I missed it on Tuesday, but a lot of people on Twitter have been talking about this premiere. And so I downloaded the app and I watched it on streaming, and it's a really strong season premiere for this show. Now, I'm not a big fan of like a lot of the CW shows, but I've been hearing a lot about Black Lightning, kind of getting as we've been kind of ramping up to this premiere, and it's been something that's kind of been on my radar, of course, because at this point, I'm kind of all about for the culture. So, ramping up the Black Panther and, just being able to see a lot of, people of color and Black superheroes and stuff like that. This one has definitely been on my radar. And I like the fact that this takes place outside of the Arrowverse, because this show really touches on a lot of social commentary and addresses a lot of issues, especially within like the first 10 minutes of this show. I mean, you're addressing things as far as like gang violence, police brutality. You're seeing like protests that are happening around the city and stuff like that. And the character of he's played by Cress Williams, and what is his name? Pierce. Cress. Yeah, I'm trying to see here. Jefferson Pierce, and he is the principal of a high school. I can't remember the name of the high school, but he says that he hasn't been Black Lightning for like the last 9 years, and he kind of has like that Hulk thing going on where it's like if you get him angry, he starts to kind of get those urges to kind of come back to being Black Lightning. You see his eyes kind of light up. And in the beginning of the episode, he gets pulled over by the cops. He's with his daughters. And, he gets frustrated because he's like, this is the third time this month I've been pulled over. And of course, he's getting pulled over for being profiled because of a robbery that happened. And, he's arguing with the police officers, and then you see his rage starts to build and his eyes start to light up, and he has to try to calm himself down. So I like how they bring that rage and that frustration and how he has to kind of, subside that so he doesn't because he doesn't want Black Lightning to come out again. And there's this whole family dynamic where his ex-wife had left him because of the stuff that, when he was defending the city as Black Lightning, it was just putting his family in a lot of this turmoil and stuff like that. And she just couldn't handle him being Black Lightning and stuff like that. So I don't know. It touches on a lot of different things that I think really do resonate that socially is going on now. I mean, especially when you see him as a principal, he has a truce with the gang leaders of this one gang called the 100. And, it's like, and seeing that truce that he has with them as far as, and you see him kind of go through things in the high school where he's against having metal detectors in the school because he doesn't want to portray that image of his school, being that school that has to, have metal detectors because, different things like that. So I don't know. And then James Remar is in the show, and he's kind of like the Alfred to his Black Lightning, and he has like this tailor shop. It kind of reminded me of Kingsman, and he's always kind of been in the peripheral in these last 9 years, and he's always kind of pushing him to kind of bring Black Lightning back. And then, of course, some things happen throughout the show where his daughters get kidnapped, and they introduced this kind of kingpin villain named Tobias, and his introduction is so cool. It's like they show him in his like little suite, and they throw this guy into like this tank of piranhas. he starts to get eaten by these piranhas. And I don't know, like the show, it feels like it's 13 episodes, and it doesn't feel like it's going to be one of those type of shows like The Flash or Supergirl where they're going to have like a villain of the week. It feels like it's going to actually be kind of serialized where they're going to have this main villain, and they're going to be dealing with a lot of these different, continuing themes that's going to go throughout the whole series. So I don't know. I thought it was really cool, and they introduced a nice little element at the end of the episode where it feels like a lot of his powers are being passed down to his daughters, and you get like a little tease of that at the end as well. So this could be kind of like a family of superheroes. But I don't know. I thought it was a really, really strong premiere. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of a lot of I don't watch any of the CW shows, but this one I'm definitely going to check out. I'll probably just stream a lot of it. I probably won't watch it live, but I like the fact that it's only 13 episodes. Of course, it'll probably get a season 2, which then they'll probably up it to 22 episodes. So we'll probably get some filler episodes. So I'm interested to see how that goes when they do order a season 2 for this. But I think for this first season, it seems like this could be a really strong really strong season.
I haven't watched the episode yet, but I've seen that trailer in front of like every screening I saw this week in the theater, and I really dig that trailer. And I really like the guy playing Black Lightning. His presence is very dynamic. So yeah, I'm going to join you on this watch as well.
Yeah, it's there's a couple of things that are nitpicky for this particular episode. Like the costume is, I don't know how I feel about the actual outfit, but aside from that, I mean, a lot of stuff is just really kind of nitpicky. But outside of that, this is just really a strong season premiere, and this is the highest rated premiere that the CW has had in the last 2 years. So that bodes well for this series, hopefully kind of moving forward. So I'm excited to continue watching it.
Black Lightning's always been a jokey kind of character, or at least not always, but for like the last, I'd say, 15 years, he's been a jokey character. You know, Sinbad played him in that Death of Superman sketch on Saturday Night Live about 20 years ago.
Wow.
And that was like the first time I ever encountered that character. And then when you see him now in comic books, they're definitely trying to do a new spin and make him more dramatic. And I think this show will only boost his quality in the comic book form.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with what they're trying to do with this show. We're really trying to tap into and address a lot of the issues that's been going on recently, as far as like politically, socially within our world. I think this show really is able to kind of speak on that in a in a really profound way. And I think that does bring some legitimacy to this character that probably wasn't there before.
Yeah.
I might check it out based on Brian's recommendation. I just couldn't get past like what you that specific thing that you mentioned, Brian, like the costume. I didn't like how cheap it looked. So for me, I kind of felt like, because we have as far as like African American superheroes, like we have a bad track record of like really low budget. Like you look at Shaquille O'Neal and Steel, like his cheap looking costume.
Hey man, Mantis.
All right, Mantis. I'm just saying, like, and counter that with what, Meteor Man, and then freaking Blank Man. Like we just have.
I know.
We don't have a good track record as far as that goes. When I saw that, it was unavoidable as far as me having that comparison or bringing that baggage with our cinematic history of like African American superheroes. I mean, you got to think about it, like, outside of Black Panther, really, before, like, the only cinematic big budget or not even big budget, but black character like that comic book character that looked like it had a nice budget and some effort put behind it was Blade. And
Blade, yeah, and some people will say Spawn, but I didn't even really like
that. No. Yeah, that put that in the pile with Steel and everybody. Dude, if you go back and rewatch Spawn, it is bad. It is like TV, like Sci-Fi Channel TV movie bad. Like,
I didn't like it when I saw it back in '98 or '97 when it came out.
Same. So I don't know, but based on I'll see if I can, because it sounds like there's more to the show than when he's in his costume, and for me that has to be there in order for me to stick with the show. That's one of the reasons why I'm a huge fan of another CW show, The Flash, is because even when he's not in costume, I'm a fan of his interactions with everyone else and the dynamic between the characters. So all right.
Absolutely. So I think you'll respond well to that, because I mean the drama that's going on outside of all the superhero stuff is really, really compelling, especially the stuff with his daughters and the stuff with his ex-wife, and then and what he's trying to do to really make his family dynamic work by stepping away from Black Lightning, and the whole idea of being a reluctant hero and doing that for the sake of his family, but then why he has to be called back into becoming that superhero. So it speaks to it's. I thought it was really, really good. I'm excited to watch the rest of it.
All right, wife Dork.
Yes.
How was your weekend, Dork?
It was lovely.
Yay.
Brad and I earlier in the week got to see The Commuter.
Yes.
Which we enjoyed. I gave it 3 stars.
Yay.
I like plots and schemes.
Yes, you do.
I like to have clues and put shit together, so I enjoyed that. But what I really want to talk about was the movie that made my heart grow 3 sizes. You know what it is. It's Paddington 2.
Uh-oh.
So sweet. Have you seen Paddington 2?
Not yet.
I know Brad has.
No, not yet.
Oh my God. It is so beautiful. Did you see Paddington 1?
I haven't seen any one of them.
No Paddingtons for you? What about you, Darren?
I saw half of the first one. Haven't seen the whole thing yet. But I think it's on HBO.
What?
I think it's on HBO now, so I can catch the rest of the first one.
You should. Though I would argue, like Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 2 adds to and then surpasses the original film in terms of heart and character development. I had my reservations about the first film, particularly because of the trailer when he cleans his ears with the toothbrush. That just grossed me out so terribly bad. And they do reference that in the second film, which cost it half a star, by the way, because it's disgusting. But I just love this movie so much, and I love the message of it. So Paddington at this point has been living in London for a while. He's fully become part of the Brown family. The first movie was about Sally Hawkins. Mary Brown brings this bear into their home, and the kind of straight-laced father dude who wears a suit to work and is an insurance guy, like at first doesn't know what to make of Paddington, but he eventually, invites Paddington into his home and into his heart. So all of that origin story is now out of the way, and we're on for bigger and better adventures. So in this film, Paddington has not only has he become part of the family, but he's really become part of the neighborhood, because he just has a tremendous heart, and he looks around and just sees how he can be of service. He's very zen in that way. He sees where someone needs some help, and in a very quiet and sweet bear-like way, he just kind of fills it in. So he notices the bike messenger is hungry in the morning, so he comes out with a sandwich. He notices that his neighbor tends to lock himself out of the house, so he reminds his neighbor to, grab his keys, like that kind of stuff. And he's like a gear in this neighborhood. He keeps the neighborhood running. But he does miss his family back in Peru. His Aunt Lucy, who is played by Imelda Staunton, is in Peru, and she's growing older, and her birthday is coming up. So he wants to find a really nice gift for her, and he finds one in a pop-up book. He finds a pop-up book of London in an antique shop. But it turns out this pop-up book is more than it appears, and there's someone else who has their eye on this pop-up book. I'm trying to find the character's name.
Hugh Grant is the actor.
Yeah, Hugh Grant is the character. He's like a local actor who's fallen on hard times and now has had to lower himself to doing dog commercials because he's hard to work with. But he also has his eye on this pop-up book. And through a series of misunderstandings, Paddington ends up in prison for stealing the pop-up book.
Oh.
And the rest of the movie is the Browns and the rest of the neighborhood banding together to get Paddington out of prison. But what is so sweet about Paddington is he just makes friends everywhere that he goes. And so even when he's in prison, he makes friends with Knuckles, the guy who is the chef, I guess, or the cook for the prison. And he teaches him how to make marmalade. And this terrible, scary guy. It's just sweet. And he just everywhere he goes, he just makes everything just a little bit sweeter and a little bit better. What I particularly love about this film, besides its message, was that, and Brad can back me up on this, I was getting some serious, like, Wes Anderson vibes. Like, it was edging on homage to me, particularly, like, because of the pop-up book, there's a lot of use of miniature and zooming in, and then, like...
Lots of cross-cutting.
Like, there's a prison sequence in... that takes place that could be plucked right out of what was that hotel movie? Grand Budapest Hotel. Like direct, like it must be a direct reference because that's how reminiscent it is of that movie. But I mean I gave this movie 4.5 stars, half a star off because of the whole toothbrushes in the ears. I think that's a bad message for children. I'm sure there will be exploded eardrums because of that. But I want you to watch it, Brian, and I want you to watch it, Darren, because it is so sweet.
I gave it 5 stars.
I saw that.
It doesn't have the ear hang up that I do.
That's true. I think it is superior to the original, and Paul King, the director of the film and co-writer of the movie, who did those Mighty Boosh TV series, the British show. He's an incredible visual stylist. And so while I think the themes that Paddington is exploring of, community and heart and family, I need that in my life right now. I think we all do. But the reason this film is elevated over other films is because it's such a visual feast. It's a gorgeous movie. Gorgeous.
It's another one where this animated character is just real. Like Paddington is just present.
Yeah.
He's perfectly into the background and the colors are heightened and all of the characters are heightened so that it kind of makes the whole world kind of like beautiful and seamless and better than life.
Yeah.
There's a scene that Lisa just alluded to that happens early on in the movie where Paddington sees this pop-up book. He opens it up in Jim Broadbent's antique shop, and he imagines his Aunt Lucy walking with him inside the book. And the way that the camera pushes in on the book and travels along with Paddington and Aunt Lucy through this pop-up London is stunning.
Absolutely.
And I guarantee you it's going to be in my top 25 of 2018.
Oh, wow.
That throughout the movie, Paddington has this kind of motto, and his motto is, if we're kind and polite, the world will be right. Yeah. And I think that is an invaluable message right now. I think also Paddington being an immigrant story, he's from Peru and he's just welcomed, and he is, he looks different. He acts different. He doesn't wear pants ever. And people just accept and love him because he's a good person.
Except Peter Capaldi, who is the town racist.
Yeah,
and wants Paddington off of his streets.
He's anti-bear, but the neighborhood, spoiler alert, the neighborhood won't have it. And every bear has his day. So,
all right.
I highly recommend.
I'll check it out.
Yes.
Brad, how was your weekend, Dork?
It was really great until the plague took over.
No.
But you know, watching lots of great movies. I went out to Winchester to our Alamo Drafthouse for the Lost Weekend 9 announcement this past Wednesday.
Yay!
And I gotta tell you, this is one of the most exciting Lost Weekend lineups that we've experienced so far. One, it's the most amount of movies we've had. 28 films will be playing in February 22nd through whenever that Sunday is. What's that, like the 25th?
Yes.
Yeah, and on Thursday night, we're going to get not one, not two, but 3 movies.
Yes.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
There's 16 advanced screenings. There are 3 secret screenings.
Yes.
And here's the thing. So, yes, there are 28 movies, but you're going to have to make some decisions. So, at certain times during the festival, you're going to have 2 choices. And you either have to say, I'm going to go see this movie, or I'm going to go see that movie.
He's doing a little mini Fantastic Fest thing there.
Yeah. And it was funny when that was announced to the group. There was certainly some WTF responses and maybe a few boos.
Yeah.
But I think personally, where those choices, where the forks in the road split, I'm not too concerned with. I've already made my choice of which films I'm going to pick.
Yes.
And I don't think it's going to really disturb things too much. If anything, I think it'll spark more conversation about more movies, and that's what we want. So, and we are sponsoring a movie once again. We're sponsoring a Sunday film. So, in previous years, we've had a Friday and a Saturday slot. This is the first time where we're kind of going to be closing out the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I am crazy excited about our movie. Our movie's playing at 6:40 p.m. on Sunday. It's an advanced screening of the new Lynn Ramsey film, You Were Never Really Here, starring Joaquin Phoenix. And I had not seen the trailer until the announcement, and it is a brutal trailer. Joaquin ball-peen hammer looks like it's going to be uncomfortable. Looks like it's going to be pretty violent.
Yeah.
Lynn Ramsey, she directed We Need to Talk About Kevin, and that's a depressing, sad-ass flick.
Yeah.
But what's curious about this movie is it's only like 88 minutes long. So it's going to be brisk gangbusters experience, I think.
I'm excited.
I see scrolling through that Friends of the Podcast, Cuddles and Rage is sponsoring a film as well.
Yeah, they're sponsoring a movie on Saturday morning. And that's the other exciting thing about this is Andy's gone back to the original format of like Saturday morning, we're going to get a cartoon. Sunday morning, we're going to get a music documentary.
Yeah.
But the Saturday morning cartoon sponsored by Cuddles and Rage is The Big Bad Fox and Other Tales. It's from the French animated studio that brought Ernest and Celestine. That was nominated for the Oscar a couple of years ago. So that's exciting as well.
Damn it, Brad.
I know. Darren doesn't want to know any of the titles. He wants to walk in unsuspecting. He wants every screening to be a secret screening. He's not settled for just 3 secret screenings.
But you know what? The switch up of having to choose films now is going to kind of. I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm going to have to choose. So
yeah. So you don't want to know anything. You don't want me to tell you anything.
What about the movies that were at Fantastic Fest?
Yes,
like there's some of the movies we've for sure seen.
Okay, I'll hear those. What do we got from Fantastic?
Well, guess what? Bad Genius. We're gonna get to see that again. I'm so excited.
I am staring at that. I am staring at that title right now on Letterboxd. That is nuts.
So good. I love it.
Yes.
And it's being sponsored by the Independent School of Winchester. And those of you who have been following the podcast know that both Darren and I were huge fans of this movie at Fantastic Fest, and Brad did not get to see it.
No,
Brad and
Darren.
Brian
definitely did not get to see it.
Yeah, so. I think Brian's gonna love that movie.
Brian's gonna plaque.
Yeah.
He's gonna love it.
Yes.
Yeah, you talking about Bad Genius?
Yes.
Yeah, about
Yeah. Because I was about to rent that on iTunes. I remember Darren was telling me about that, and it seemed intriguing. And so yeah, I haven't seen the trailer for it, but I'm definitely excited to check that one out.
It's heisty. It's teenagery. It's I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. Plots and schemes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. The other Fantastic Fest movie that's playing is Tigers Are Not Afraid, which was Physics' favorite film.
That was his number one film of the year, wasn't it?
It might be. Yeah, I think
so
it was.
So I'm definitely interested. I don't know anything about that. I haven't watched the trailer for it. So, but the simple fact that it's his favorite film of the year gets me intrigued about what it's about and how good it could be. So,
Darren, did you see it?
I did not. I'm looking forward to. I wanted to. I had to pick something else over that one. But I get to see it.
I eventually caught it after the festival, and I was super disappointed.
Really?
Oh, wow.
I did not particularly like it. But I watched it, on my computer. It was a screener. Yeah. So sometimes the environment might shape how you experience the movie and how you feel about the film. So I am looking forward to seeing it on the big screen with an audience. Yeah. And, the great thing about Lost Weekend, like Fantastic Fest, is you're in a full house. They sold out the night of the ticket sales, so you're sitting there with 130 people.
Yep.
And that means everything.
Yep.
But that's it from the Fantastic Fest stuff. Like I said, there are 3 advanced screenings, there's 16 advanced screenings, 3 secret screenings, and 3 movies on Thursday. Now, the first time you have to choose between 2 movies happens on Friday morning. There'll be one film at 9:15 a.m. and one film at 9:30. Okay. And to me, it's not even a choice. I know exactly which one I want. And I think it'll be the same way with you.
Yay!
Because the truth is, one film is currently on Amazon Prime right now.
Is that? Okay.
Yeah, and then the other film is an advanced screening and looks like Youngers, but from New Zealand.
Ooh. Okay, I'm excited.
And, so I'm not telling you what that is.
Yeah.
Listeners can go onto the Alamo Drafthouse website, check out what these 28 movies are. There's a bunch of documentaries. There's 4 docs. I'm excited about all of them.
Yes.
There's a graphic novel adaptation that I'm really excited about, Darren. I think this is the strongest lineup of Lost Weekend since Lost Weekend 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. All right.
Do you know what I'm excited about is that Lost Weekend is going to take over the internet and film Twitter, I think, because we've got Brad from Film School Rejects, Emily Sears for Birth Movies Death, and I'll be there for After Movie Diner. Oh, and also Billy will be there, of course, for Film School Rejects. So.
And we'll be there for It Mod.
And we'll be there for It Mod, representing. So, I don't know. I like going to Winchester for Last Weekend. It's going to be I don't know. It's going to be like, I think we're at the front end of something really cool.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I keep telling Andy Geierson, the film programmer over at the Winchester, that this is going to be a week-long festival in the manner of a couple of years. He's already pushing the boundaries of Thursday through Sunday. We could easily support all day Thursday. I think we could, and here's the thing, Andy's got people trying to are pushing movies on him from all over the place. He had to tell people no. He had to turn down like 12 films. So I think a week-long festival is right around the corner. And the idea that these 28 movies we can see for $35, that's bananas.
That is nuts. Yeah. So
we're spoiled.
As always,
thank you, Andy.
As always, thank you, Andy Geierson and Alamo Drafthouse in Winchester. For all of our listeners, hopefully you were able to get a ticket, $35 pass for the entire festival. We look forward to seeing you all there and watching these cool movies and talking to you and discussing them with you. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
Me
I'm
too.
stoked. And, we have made a lot of friendships over with the Winchester group, with the Lost Weekenders and the Film Club. And we've gained a bunch of listeners from those fine folks as well. And it's just so exciting to just get out there and talk movies.
And there's only one official podcast of the Alamo Drafthouse Winchester, and that is the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast.
That's
and
right.
We're going to be recording all weekend, and we're going to be recording on site. So we want to hear from you guys too. So we want you to come on down, give us a couple of your opinions on these films, and we'll get you on the show too.
Yep.
Yeah, but don't take my mic, because I get excited. I get real mad.
If you see John Boyega on that mic, stay away. That's
my mic.
All right, thanks, B. For my weekend dork, I earlier today I was able to catch Mom and Dad, which Lisa just recently reviewed, and yeah, I just told her before we started recording. She kind of undersold that movie to me because the movie was nuts. It was everything.
Amazing. It's hard to talk about because there's like shit you can really spoil.
Yeah.
I feel like the more you know, like the more I don't know. I feel like secrets are good with this movie.
I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm just gonna double down on what you said. It is worth seeing. Fortunately, I was able to see it in the theater instead of on demand or something like that. Which
jealous.
It should be seen in the theater if at all possible. Yeah, it's really intense. It is really intense. It's one of the better horror movies. For whatever reason, I was not categorizing it as a horror movie before I went in. But as I'm watching it and all that crazy shit started happening, it just dawned on me this is a horrific premise. Like, what's happening is horrific. This is a straight up horror movie. So
what was it like? Well, I know you're going to talk about something else, but and I'm taking up your time.
It's okay.
But how was it watching it as a parent? Because I was watching it in terms of like just as a childless person going, I've made a tremendous choice.
Yeah.
Being child free for life. What? But
the themes in this film are the things that I can't even say that I was really watching it from the perspective of a parent first, as more than an adult who's in his 40s, right? So there's themes in this movie that I've seen millions of times in other movies about the guy who, he had the badass car when he was younger. He used to get babes, and he had a wonderful sex life, and then he had kids, and now he works at some less than desirable company. His life wasn't what he thought it was or what it would be when he was younger. And then the wife who, she didn't get to fulfill her dreams, and after, being a parent. And what you were saying, Lisa, when you reviewed the film about parents who put everything of themselves into raising their kids, so much so that becomes their identity. So when the child gets older and is ready to step off and have an identity of their own and a personality of their own, it leaves that particular parent with this emptiness. So that's in the film, and then that's in hundreds of other films. And for me, my perspective has always been different. Like I view my life and I view my youthfulness as compared to where I am now. I view how like my ideas and aspirations when I was younger, and what those transpired to or did not work out to now as an adult. I look at all those things differently than the people in this movie and movies of this similar vein. I don't regret it, and I don't look at it begrudgingly in this way that they do. For me, it's always interesting to see people with this particular mind state. I don't know, like I wasn't looking at it like, oh my goodness, I could never imagine myself doing this to Sia, or this is horrific because I'm picturing myself having to do this to Sia. Like I was able to separate myself because I don't even think the way these people think. So it was almost like an extra heightened sense of reality.
It's a farce. It's a farce.
Yeah, like I don't know, like I can't even really sympathize with those type of people. And that might sound mean, but like because I don't take life in that way. Like I don't view my gray hairs and I'm 40 what? How the fuck old am I? I'm 41. I forgot after 39. Because it doesn't matter to me. Like, you know, like people say, "Oh shit, Smitty, you got gray hairs, or won't you color that in?" I go, because I don't. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't. I don't even notice it until you say something about it. Like, it's not. It has nothing to do with how I feel inside. Like, it doesn't affect my youthfulness. It's the color of my hair. It's not the texture of my soul. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. So I don't know. I operate differently mentally as opposed to the characters in this movie. But I will say that, like, the premise of the film is a perfect setup for that type of anxiety and that sense of dread that you want from a horror film. Because even when, like, you know, just the idea, like, everything that's set up prior to the phone call from her sister, "Oh, I'm heading to the hospital, I'm about to have the baby," like, everything that's set up outside of her, everything that's set up with the school and everything else makes that moment, makes that phone call so dreadful, because you go, "Oh my gosh, she's about to give birth. As soon as she gives birth, is she gonna try to kill this newborn?" Like, that's what's playing in your head. Like, and the movie is brilliant in that, you know, before that even happens, before you even go to the hospital, you've already had this mini horror movie of this childbirth scene in your head, and this shit plays out like like you think. It's nuts. It is nuts. But, you know.
So here's my question. I have two questions for you, Darren.
Yeah.
What do you think of Nic Cage? And what about the final shot of the movie? Without talking about what the final shot, how did you come away from that last moment? What was your feeling?
Well, again, like, I really can't say too much else about the film that Lisa hasn't already said. I mean, she summed it up perfectly when she said that, you know, Nicolas Cage, especially now, he's known for a very particular type of acting, and in other films, it can be an element of the film that stands out, whether that be for better or for worse. But in this particular film, like, it feels like the setup of the film was tailored around his particular acting style. Like, when he gets the frenzy, you know, how he normally acts in every other film is how it transcribes perfectly to what someone in this particular world universe would get, how they would behave if they had this friend, because everyone else is acting that way. You know what I mean? Like, so to a certain degree. But so I thought he was great in it. And I love Selma Blair in it. Gosh, I have a crush on her so bad.
I know. I love how, like, they were trying to sell her as this, like, sad mom role. And even in the movie, the other mom has to say, "Well, you're still hot, but the rest of us are aging."
Right. And that's another thing, like, and that's like, okay, woman, you're having this midlife crisis, I guess, but for what? You're hot. Like, you're everything. You're good. You're good. But
like, that takes a tremendous amount of effort, Darren.
Does
like, these are two women who have no jobs, and all they are doing is going to fitness classes so that their ass can resemble the ass of their teenage daughter. That's a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah, I ain't saying she ain't earned it. I'm just saying she got it. But to what you were saying, Brad, the last shot of that movie, I will say that might be the reason why there's a half star instead of a full star on my Letterboxd rating. I have to sit with it. When it went off and I'm walking to my car, I'm thinking about how I feel about that. And again, Lisa said in her review, she said this movie is it's like Romero's earlier films. It's like the Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead, in that, you know, we're plucked into a world, an epidemic has happened. We're not given a reason why or where it came from. The cause of it is Genesis or whatever. We're just dropped right into it. And then when the movie ends, there's no resolution to the pandemic, the epidemic or whatever. It's just there's a resolution sort of to how the people that we were introduced to either come to grips with or make their way out of the particular situation that we're dropped in with. And the movie kind of does that in a way. And so the way that it ends in the theater, like, it just goes off, and then the audience is kind of like quiet, and I'm like, huh. Now,
Yeah.
I still had the energy and the build up from the sequence leading up to that moment. Lance Henriksen was great. The mom was great. So I still had I could still feel that. But when the ending happens, I go, okay, shit. I'm still winding down from all that other shit. But then I'm thinking about the ending, and I go, huh, how do I feel about that? But it really is in line with those other films that were just mentioned, in that, like Dawn of the Dead. They get in that helicopter and they go off. It's not really a happy ending because, well, no matter where they land, the zombie epidemic is still there. There's still no explanation of how it started. Like, you still don't know. You just know that they just made it out of this particular circumstance, and that's it. But there's still a larger thing to deal with, which means there's still questions. And there's still questions you could ask about the themes of the movie, like what the movie is trying to say and stuff like that. So I dig it for that. And I guess, I don't know, like always.
I think that the answer is in that 70s opening of the opening credits. How the opening credits of this film are extremely nostalgic, and I think that it's a direct reference to those social science fiction films of the 70s. Like this, this is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. This is Omega Man. Those movies traditionally end on further predicament.
Yeah.
So
I think those movies are really not about offering an answer, but are really about just bringing up the questions. Yeah, exactly. So in that opening, I don't know. I was really shocked at how good this movie was.
It's extremely thoughtful.
It is.
And I like how it's structured kind of like a joke. It ends on a punchline, for God's sake.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I think Brian Taylor of the Crank Brothers, he was the writer and the director. I just think, it's just extremely well crafted and very clever.
I was shocked at how good.
Me
too. This movie does need a wider audience, because, and granted, you're not dealing with easy stuff. I mean, there's some stuff in it that just by how we're groomed, either through society or cinema, there are things that happen that are atypical as far as with kids and baby, because normally the rule is you don't kill kids and you don't kill animals, right? This movie
suicide is generally frowned upon,
right? But this movie goes straight to that, and so I don't know, but yeah, I'm so glad. It's just weird. This is like a movie I would have pictured seeing on a Friday night or a Saturday, not like a Sunday morning. Yeah. But I'm glad I saw it. So I'm in talking about it, like always, I guess I'll go ahead. Maybe bump that up the other half a star. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So it's worth checking out. It is playing. It has limited release theatrically. So listeners, if it sounds interesting to you, even if it doesn't, still just take our word for it and go check it out. And then you can hit us up and we can further discuss it. I was going to talk about the Netflix Godzilla film, Godzilla Monster Planet, which is it's an anime. I think it's the first Japanese animated iteration of this character, and it's a different take. It's interesting. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but I will say, even if you have trouble dealing with or getting through the first hour of the film, that final scene is for any kaiju fan or Godzilla fan, it's it's so badass and worth it.
Darren, I watched the first 30 minits and I stopped.
Oh my God!
I was so bored.
Brad, be bored. It's you know what? Here's the thing. It's no different than any other Godzilla film. The human element is always the least. This is not colossal, right? They're the least interesting aspects of. You want to see Godzilla, but I tell you what. Fast forward to the last 30 minutes of the film, because for any kaiju fan, for any Godzilla fan, it gives you the biggest gift, and I was floored by it. It is freaking awesome.
All right.
And when I say the biggest, I mean literally. This Godzilla in this film dwarfs all other Godzillas. Easy.
I'm gonna call Brad out. He fast forwarded to when the monster showed up And he was like, okay, and then he turned the movie off.
And here's the thing.
I only watched it for like 10 minutes of the monster.
And he was sick. It could have been the fever.
Yeah, that's true.
And here's the thing,
Thanks, Lisa.
No.
You're welcome.
But here's the thing, though. As a kid, that's what I did. Like, when I had it on video, like, I would just go straight to the Godzilla stuff. I would not watch the human stuff. That just wasn't my thing. You know, I don't watch a Godzilla movie for people. I watch it for Godzilla. So that's there. I totally understand that. But what I'm telling you is, fast forward to like the last 20 minutes of it when they're fighting Godzilla, and just watch it from that point on. Holy shit. So yeah, that's gonna do it for our weekend dork. Hit us up on social media. Let us know what you did this week, what you checked out, anything you want us dorks to watch, so we can talk about on the show and share with everyone else. At ItModcast, just drop us a line. When we come back from the break, we are going to get into our review cast of the new film Den of Thieves, starring Gerard Butler, O'Shea Jackson Jr., a cameo by 50 Cent, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
More than a cameo.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have that for you covered right up. All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This week for our review cast, we have Den of Thieves. This was a film that I was really looking forward to ever since I saw that first trailer. I don't know what it was about the trailer, but I tell you what it was. It's Pablo Schreiber. I am an unabashedly huge, I guess it'd be a man crush. Like, I really like that dude. Ever since I first saw him on Orange is the New Black, he plays this asshole corrections officer that has a really interesting character arc over the course of the first and second season, if I'm not mistaken. And I was an immediate fan. Then he shows up in some other stuff, TV series. He was also in 13 Hours more recently, Michael Bay's best film outside of Brad's Pain and Gain. So he's always been on my radar. Then recently we've got O'Shea Jackson Jr., who made his on-screen debut in John Singleton's F. Gary Gray's Straight Outta Compton. He also had a small part in Ingrid Goes West. He's proving himself to be a very, very charismatic actor in his own right. And so with just those two, I was very excited to see this film. I could care less that 50 Cent was in the film, and truth be told, Gerard Butler has fallen out of favor with me.
That dude is looking more and more like Mel Gibson every day that I do not trust him. I'm just like,
I cannot argue
something terrible is
Lisa.
going to come out of his mouth.
I cannot argue Lisa. He's fallen out of my favor, and not because of anything he said. It's just the quality of his movies have just really not been good to me. So anyway, I'm always in the mood for a heist film. I'm like Lisa. I like heists. I like plots and schemes and plans that go awry. And I like cops and robbers stuff. But unfortunately, well, you know what? Let's talk about the film first. Let's get everybody's.
Unfortunately, I can finish that sentence. Unfortunately, this movie is so boring. It was so intensely dull.
Yeah.
There was like not a new thing in this movie.
Yeah.
The best part of the movie was the last 6 minutes.
Yeah. I agree.
Was it even 6 minutes? Like the whole wrapping up process. I was like, that would have been a great movie to watch.
And Lisa's
the
not
movie
wrong.
was not about that.
You know,
what?
And I'm saying you're not wrong. You know, so if you've watched movies, if you've watched cops and robbers movies, you've come across the great ones. If you listen to the podcast, you've heard us mention Michael Mann's Heat a tremendous number of times. It's been
that was a homework episode for me, and a great one too.
Yes, that's
if
right.
they want to go back into the archives.
Yeah, and you know, as any great cinematic achievement, there are always movies that are inspired by or riffs or homages and or they take things from. And Heat is one of those films. And this movie, not only just from Heat, but a bunch of other like cops and robber dramas. And that's the weakness of this film, is that it fails to be its own thing. Outside of it failing to be exciting and not boring, it fails to be its own thing because it feels like it's too much of a patchwork of greater works. And
it's such a wannabe movie.
Yeah, and there's a way to pay homage and take inspiration from other films. Like Tarantino is the master at that. He can take the DNA of other films and use those to craft something wholly unique. People always give Tarantino shit that he always rips off other movies. He's not original, but when he takes those inspirations and those homages and those quote unquote ripoffs and forms them into his own film, and I've said this before, when you put his his finished film up against any of those other films, they're not the same. There's something wholly original and unique, and so this movie is not able to do that.
His what he pulls is not from the mainstream for the most part. He points you towards movies that you would not ever otherwise watch. Where I felt like this was more like just a basket of cliche. It's the stuff that happens in every nasty cop film. He's not just referencing Heat. He's referencing every movie that's ever referenced Heat.
Right, and the director is Christian Gudegast, I think is his name. He also did the screenplay, and I'm not familiar with his work. And
this is his first movie. It's his directorial debut.
Okay, and so
he did write A Man Apart, the Vin Diesel
movie, which that wasn't good.
Yeah, and London Has Fallen. He wrote that too.
Oh, okay, that explains it. Some connectivity. All right, and the film stars Gerard Butler, as we mentioned earlier, is Nick Flanagan. And Nick Flanagan is the macho. He's a sheriff, and he's the macho, break the rules, follow his own code. He's just as bad as the gangster type dude.
Yeah.
It's, as mentioned in the trailer, he says, we're a gang, but I have a badge. You're not the bad guys. We're the bad guys. And, I don't know, if that script or that character was given... that character specifically was given an inkling of nuance, then maybe that could have been an interesting dynamic.
But his wife doesn't like him.
Right.
Yeah, that was my issue with a couple of issues I had with the film. And like you said, it's definitely a retread of all the films that we've seen before. But one thing that kind of bothered me, especially if you're doing a ripoff of Heat, the one thing that made Heat so great is that you took time to develop the characters. And the first scene that we get between basically the introduction scene with him and his wife is his wife finding out that he cheated on her, and then takes the kids, and you have that big scene when they leave. But there's no weight to that scene because they've never established that relationship prior to. So I just thought that was odd for that to be her first scene, to introduce her character, because it doesn't really establish anything for us to be invested into that relationship. So I don't know. I just thought there was some weird choices made directorial wise that they would do stuff like that, and that happens throughout the entire film where. They try to establish, that all these men, whether it's the police or, Pablo Schreiber or 50 Cent, their family life. But every time we get dropped into their family life, there's no establishment to that. There's nothing to establish that for us to care.
The best scene in the movie, Brian, is 50 Cent protecting his daughter.
Yeah, and even that scene comes out of nowhere. But it was a great, it's a great scene. It's a good comedic moment and stuff like that and whatnot. But there's still nothing there to make us really care about that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just had issues with things like that where I think if they would have took time to kind of maybe develop those characters and not have to rely on them carrying it through their acting, which, I guess that's what they were kind of banking on, because they tried to give Gerard Butler some scenes even after that, whether it's scenes with his daughter, where they try to make him seem a little bit more vulnerable, which, I mean, it was okay, but still at that point, as an audience member, I just can't get invested. I just can't care.
I don't think they were banking it on acting alone, because I thought there were some very character-specific jacket choices that were made throughout the film that really... Yeah, I mean, layers of jackets.
My problem with this, gangster cop subgenre that has formed over the last decade or so. The David Ayer stuff, the Training Day, the Harsh Times, the Sabotage characters, is when we're given these corrupt cops now in light of the events surrounding Michael Brown and Eric Garner, these cops, like the cop culture, it has become so ugly. And if you are going to revel in that ugliness, you need to address the reality of that ugliness. And at no point in this film does it feel like there's consequence to these monsters.
Yeah, it almost feels like a glorification of these type of people, these type of characters. Yeah.
And you have them, kidnapping O'Shea Jackson Jr. outside of his bar, bringing him back to this hotel room where they've surrounded themselves in prostitutes, and they, electroshock him and torture him, and they pin him to their corner, and then they allow for the hostages to get taken in this bank. And then they have this massive shootout in the Los Angeles freeway that is, if that happened in real life, there would be such horrendous hell to pay for the people involved. Or at least it would be a scenario, right? It would be a scenario that we would prosecute. It would be national news. And the cops would probably be seen to have no fault whatsoever. But it's like, it just seems so phony baloney. And I can't handle this phony baloney-ness with all the real-life misery that we have been experiencing in the last couple of years. And it really irks me, these gangster cop stories.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
So yeah, Den of Thieves.
All right, so that's good.
I did like how at the end, O'Shea Jackson Jr. I love him as an actor. I want to see him do more things.
Yes.
Yeah. Even through this Drek, I think that he managed to establish something of a character. And the fact that at the end there was a little bit more intrigue to who he was.
Yes.
That he was not like, the pathetic informant dude that he was made out to be. Yeah. I really enjoyed seeing him win. And when they opened up the black bags and found those like shredded Bill hockey puck things, I was just like, ha ha ha. And I would have loved to see a movie about like, Donnie making these plans, connecting with people in the UK so he could get his bar and all of this cool, interesting stuff,
That was one of the things that I did like about the film, because going into the film before the movie, before even seeing the movie, watching the trailer, I go, you know what? I think O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character is like an undercover cop. That's what it just feels like, because they don't.
Yeah, it's a secret. You can tell looking at him the whole time.
And I like that, that's the one thing I like about the film, is that was, my expectations of that was subverted. And I thought that was pretty interesting. Now, do I believe his English accent? No. His beard beard looks weird. But I do like you, Lisa, I do like that there was something else to him. So
yeah, I guess the end of it, I guess when it comes down to that big heist, which I think kind of the way it was planned out, starting at that small bank and then them taking the sewer route to get, I don't know, again, going to the directing of it, I guess the timing of everything as far as how that all got planned out, because when they blow the safe or I guess blow the floor out to sneak through the tunnel system, it's like when Gerard Butler runs into the bank and figures out what they're doing, we cut to like they're already in the city with the uniforms on, and then how did they get those uniforms? I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of plot holes. I mean, some of that stuff could seem nitpicky,
they stole $30 million, but they spent $20 million to make it happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just like the timing of everything and how it just, I don't know. It just felt weird, especially
I think that's a cool heist idea. I think the idea of digging through one bank to get into another bank is a cool heist idea.
No, actually,
that's what the movie was about.
Yeah, I just think the execution of that. Then how did O'Shea Jackson's character get inside that bin? Like,
no,
I think he just crawled in.
Yeah, they just put him in.
They put him in there. That's why
they put him in there.
Oh, that's right.
The
Okay.
reason they
had the okay.
Yeah, because they got them from the earlier heist.
Yeah.
I was so happy to see the Chinese food in the grate payoff, but then I was very frightened for the women as they were eating old Chinese food. Then I got nervous.
Yeah, I was like, I hope he's going to heat that shit up before he gives it to him.
Yeah, I know.
And that's another thing when the guard. When the lady calls up and was like, did a delivery guy just come by there? Yeah, stop that guy. And the way that they filmed that guy going, okay, hang on, he gets up, but they never cut back to that guy.
That's what happens when you're a woman at work asking for something. There's no follow through.
Yeah,
the bottom of the food chain.
there was so many inconsistencies that I saw through. Even in the beginning, like when they're scoping out the Federal Reserve. Like there's times when you would cut from one scene and O'Shea Jackson would have like his little nappy fro, and then they would cut, and then he would have like a clean cut. Like his hair would change from scene to scene. And it was just, I was like, come on, man. Who's your script supervisor on this set? Like it was just some wild inconsistencies, man. Like you could tell it was a first time director.
I fell asleep at the beginning of the movie. I had to wake up. I woke. It was like right at the beginning. I had to wake up and go like, why is Gerard Butler so bad? Besides his jacket.
That's just because he walked in the movie like that.
I do like Gerard Butler, and I think this kind of role of, where he was one-time hot shit football player, and then he gets on the police force and he was a badass, but then the realities of the job crush his soul and corrupt him. Like, I think this is a role that it fits well with his Mel Gibson face, Lisa. But it's just, he's just not finding actual quality scripts, or the people who are writing quality scripts don't see any interest in him, and that's why he gets Den of Thieves and Geostorm.
Yeah.
But he has all of that sweet How to Train Your Dragon cash.
And 300.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And some people still like Law-Abiding Citizen, Brad.
All right. Well, yeah.
He was great in Rock and Rolla.
So good.
He was great in Rock and Roll. That's right. That's on HBO, Brian. It's about to leave soon, so you should check it out.
Okay.
Listeners, hit us up on social media and let us know what you thought if you've seen Den of Thieves, or if this review has just saved you some money.
It did well at the box office.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brad won Fantasy Movie League this week. Or he got third.
I got second place, actually.
I got second. I for some reason I rolled up I made my bed with a Phantom Thread. Not a smart move.
That rhymed.
Yes, I'm a poet.
And you know it. All right. Well, if I knew our review cast was going to be this short, we could have expounded upon Mom and Dad some more. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen,
go back to it. Mom and Dad is great. Don't go see Den of Thieves. I told you guys when you chose this movie to be the movie that we review, I was just like, it looks horrible. We should see Paddington too.
Yeah. Well, you're right. We should have done a Paddington 2 review cast. But really, the opening weekend movies,
with the old
Lisa.
Chinese food. I'm like, follow that man. And you guys are like, whatever.
Sorry, unfortunately, you got to see the movie to get that reference.
Oh no! I go, something stinks. and I'm going to get mine.
Hit us up on social media at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow Brian at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. And Lisa Gullickson is at Sidewalk Siren on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd.
And do read my review of Mom and Dad on After Movie Diner.
Yes.
Brian Taylor did, and he said it was his favorite review yet on Twitter.
Make sure you watch the movie, too. Yeah. And then follow Brad at MouthDork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untappd. And I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on all social medias. That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your week. And until next time. Oh, yeah, be on the lookout for our upcoming Fistful of Cinematic Resolutions. We'll be doing something a little different this year. So be on the lookout for that. Nice, sweet surprise for you.
Can I do a plug for Brad?
Yep.
Brad is doing this amazing series on Film School Rejects. He's doing the roadmap to MCU. And I think that so he just finished doing the write-up of Iron Man 2. What's coming, which is great, by the way, his review, his article, and the film, in my opinion. Yep. So, Brad, what is next?
The Thor movie, the first Thor film.
So, yeah, fun stuff on filmschoolrejects.com.
Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too, everybody. Thank you all for listening. Until next time.
I love you, Brian.
I love you guys.
Whatever, motherfucker.